Hey there! Welcome back to SMP Theory. Today's theory is a super exciting one, all about Ranboo. Now, Ranboo has a lot of lore, as I'm sure you're aware, so I'm planning on doing a full character analysis, talking about everything soon enough, but for now, we're just going to theorize a bit about his character and what's really going on here. By the way, if you do enjoy the video and you haven't yet, it would be super awesome if you could like and subscribe. These theories take a while to do, and the support would be incredible if you're willing to give some. Alright, let's get into it. Ranboo is a character who seems to have a lot of connections to a lot of people. His storyline is a pretty ambiguous one at the moment, but I think with the clues we've been given, we can start to piece this giant puzzle together. But where do we even start? I figured we might as well try and work backwards. So today I'm going to be analyzing Ranboo's most recent lore stream, the start of his Ender Walking series called Lessons. Little by little, this one stream actually presents tons of questions about Ranboo and his lore that I'm going to be doing my best to answer and overview today. This stream starts in a really weird way. We see Ranboo in the mansion Foolish is building for him, standing in front of Michael, with an axe. In case you somehow aren't aware, Michael is Ranboo and Tubbo's son. He is a zombie pigman and he is adorable. Now, Ranboo loves Michael normally, so we can assume he's in his Ender Walking state when he's holding this axe to Michael, seemingly wanting to kill him. Then, he immediately snaps out of it and talks to Michael sweetly as if nothing ever happened. This isn't an isolated event in only this stream, though. Ranboo later walks past a bee that was in the mansion. He stares at it for a second, and then zooms in on it and swaps to his axe very briefly, only to look away and put his axe away again. So now he has done this strange act of bringing his axe out to seemingly hurt something twice. A bee and Michael. But what do these two things have in common? Tubbo. Tubbo is Michael's son. He loves him just as much as Ranboo does, and bees are of course Tubbo's favorite animal and have kind of become a symbol to represent him at this point. So these two things both mean a ton to Tubbo as a character, but Ranboo and Tubbo are married. Ranboo loves Michael a ton as well, and he appreciates Tubbo's love for bees. So the only true answer here seems to be Dream. I've talked about this in a previous video, but basically Dream has control over half of Ranboo, it seems. He's made him do things like blow up the community house, and Ranboo loses all recollection of what he does when he's under Dream's control. He goes into his Ender Walking state when this happens, and we know Dream can control it because he's used his smiley face to make Ranboo fall into this trance before. Well, if this is Dream controlling Ranboo's other half, it would make a ton of sense for Ranboo to want to kill things Tubbo loves. Dream has said on multiple occasions that he's willing to kill Tubbo, and nearly did a few months ago.
I don't need Tubbo! Tubbo isn't fun. Tubbo's a pawn. He's a follower.
When he talks to Tommy about Tubbo, he always says when Tubbo dies, not if Tubbo dies. So it seems like Tubbo might be Dream's next target, meaning that Ranboo is likely holding his weapon out in front of things Tubbo loves because his Ender Walking side wants Tubbo to feel pain and eventually die. Yeah, kinda dark and potentially leading to Ranboo killing Tubbo or Michael, or at least trying to, which would be so sad, but yeah, it's looking like things might line up that way. Anyway, Ranboo then goes on to talk to Foolish about the progress on the mansion, and nothing super weird happens until they reach this secret room. Foolish makes a remark about the deal Ranboo and Foolish made over a shulker box. The trade was that Foolish could use a shulker box Ranboo owned when he wanted to, as long as Foolish would give Ranboo a war favor in the future. Ranboo doesn't remember any of this, and instead fakes knowing what Foolish is talking about when he's very clearly confused.
Okay, what deal do you mean?
Oh, wait, I think I know what you're doing. Are you doing what I think you're doing?
What do you think that I'm doing?
Okay, you know what? You're pretty trusted, because, like, you know, we're supposed to only talk about it at a certain location.
Yeah.
So you're playing up, so I see, you're just extra precautionary, you know? What deal? I don't know.
Yeah,
Ranboo.
of course, yeah. No, yeah, of course, yeah. No, that was a test, yeah.
Again, anytime Ranboo is Ender Walking, he doesn't remember what he does, so he must have been Ender Walking at this point. Suddenly, after this moment, Ranboo experiences a strange flash on the screen of a lesson. Something only he seems to see or remember, as Foolish seems totally normal. It reads, quote, Lesson 14. If you have the opportunity to gain a favor, take it, end quote. Now, this clearly relates to the favor with Foolish. Ranboo had the opportunity to gain a favor from Foolish, and he took it. But this is a lesson that could be learned from a very certain someone. When Technoblade was nearly killed by the Butcher Army, he had a Totem of Undying, something very valuable, given to him by Dream in return for a favor. And Dream still hasn't used that favor, but considering the position he's in, it most likely will be incredibly useful sometime in the future. So this first lesson seems to be a lesson Ranboo learned from Dream. Now, Ranboo's Enderwalking state and Dream aren't the same person, but it rather seems that Ranboo's Enderwalking side views Dream as a mentor, and maybe he took notes on what Dream told him and put them to use. The idea of gaining a favor being a lesson Dream found important enough to share with Ranboo, who almost seems to be like his student, makes sense. So, maybe Mr. Was Taken is canon. Anyways, things just get progressively more weird from here. Now, the number 14 is a really oddly specific number for a lesson to be remembered, by the way, but we'll get to the number soon enough. Eventually, Ranboo leaves the mansion and another lesson comes to his mind. Quote, Lesson 27. Do not reminisce about what you have lost, for it will weigh you down. End quote. Now, this one relates to Dream too. So, as I was watching, I was theorizing really hard. Dream lost everything to gain power, including his friends. In my character analysis on him, I stated that this seemed like something Dream didn't want to do, but something he had to do to gain power. So again, it makes sense for this lesson to be one Dream is teaching. He lost his friends and everything he loved, but he trained himself to not think about it, as it will make him lose power and control. He even said that he had to lose everything to gain everything. And as I was thinking this, Ranboo decided to kind of confirm all my thoughts with what he said next.
This... No. No, he's still in prison. He's still in prison. No, there's no way.
So yeah, Dream is definitely the teacher of these lessons in one way or another. We also learn that Ranboo has been doing experiments on his Enderwalking at this point, which we will come back to later. Then, the lessons keep on coming. Quote, Lesson 53, never fully trust anyone, end quote. Now, this one is much more ambiguous. We know Dream works alone and rarely trusts in other people to keep a promise, so maybe this could be referring to Puns, who betrayed him the day he was sent to jail, but this applies to Ranboo as well. He seems to listen to this lesson, as he never really tells anybody about Dream's voice in his head and about the Enderwalking. He doesn't want to get others involved, and he, for some reason, in his normal state, chooses to obey this rule. He doesn't trust anyone with his secrets. Next up is Lesson 67, quote, Leave no evidence of what you have helped with, end quote. Now, this one is directly targeted at Ranboo. The only thing we really know he has helped with has been blowing up the community house, but I think that might be talking about something different here. One thing that I theorize to be Ranboo's doing is the TNT cannons that seemingly blew up outside the prison while Tommy visited, trapping Tommy inside. However, there was barely any evidence or trace of this TNT existing at all, except for a few misplaced patches of snow. If this was Ranboo's doing while he was Enderwalking, maybe he was listening to this lesson about not leaving any evidence. Then we reach the final lesson of this dream. Lesson 94, quote, Do not let them know what you have done, end quote. This one is written in classic Ranboo memory book fashion in all caps, and then it turns into the page of a book. The fourth book. Ranboo has realized that he seems to have a missing fourth memory book. Sam told him that he brought this book with him into the prison on multiple occasions to visit Dream. Obviously, Ranboo didn't remember this because he was Enderwalking, so his regular self has spent tons of time looking for this lost book full of whatever he wrote down while Enderwalking, and these lessons seem to be it. Slowly, the fourth book seems to be coming back to his memory, and showing him these oddly specific lessons he had written down from Dream's cell. This scares Ranboo a lot. Suddenly, he has the realization that he's dangerous, that he's a threat. Not even he knows what he's done, but clearly it was something bad. So, he runs to the prison and yells at Sam, telling Sam that he deserves to be in there with Dream, that he's an awful person, but he can't tell Sam why. Every time he does, he stutters and stops himself. Ranboo later confirmed that he wants to tell what he's done, but something is forcefully stopping him from doing so. So maybe it's partly his Enderwalking side stopping him from admitting to what he's done, from going against Lesson 94. Sam ignores his begging and says no one's even allowed to visit the prison, let alone be in it. Noticeably here, Sam is filling in random holes around the prison, which he seems really confused about. Maybe relating to TNT, maybe relating to the Ender walking side acting like an Enderman, taking blocks to move around. Who knows? But then Sam tries to tell Ranboo that Ranboo's done nothing wrong, and Ranboo runs off, seeming to have some sort of solution. He says that there's only one person who can have answers, and he runs to his house.
I know what I need to do. I'm not gonna get put in there.
But before we move on, let's talk about Sam for a minute. Sam seems to be a sort of hypocrite in this conversation with Ranboo, and even in the recent Tommy lore stream as well. We know Sam at one point really wanted to kill Dream as seen by Quackity's previous lore, but ultimately decided with Quackity to torture Dream every day instead. Sam lets Quackity into the prison with weapons to hurt Dream on the daily, but when Ranboo asks to visit, he says he lets no one in. So it seems kind of odd he's okay with Quackity being inside, but is apparently so strict about who can go into the prison. The same thing happened in Tommy's lore stream. Sam told Tommy he lets nobody inside, no one can go in and no one has, but we know this isn't true. Anyways, Ranboo returns home, writes in his memory book, quote, "What am I?" end quote, and then creates a splash potion with no effects. Only to splash it on himself, the screen to turn black, and the noise of his Ender walking side making an entrance. I find it kind of interesting that Ranboo chose the words "what am I," not like "who am I" or anything else, but what. He doesn't see himself and his Ender walking side as alive. He views it as somebody he might be genuinely afraid of from these words. The screen then fades to a smile with a crown, but it's different from the familiar one. Instead, this one is purple. The smile's wider, and the eyes are those of an Enderman, so there's a lot to talk about here in the end. First off, why does the splash potion with 0 effects make Ranboo switch to his Ender walking side? The two things that we have seen that make Ranboo Ender walk for certain have been Dream's smiley face and this splash potion. These kind of seem to have nothing in common, but I think there could be an idea on how they connect. Fear. Ranboo's normal side is terrified of Dream. That smile scares him so much it seems to make him Ender walk. The splash potion might not have done any real harm, but the idea that it might have, and the fear of the effect it could contain could invoke this and make him Ender walk as well. Then let's talk quickly about what Ranboo said as he was walking towards his home to do this. Quote, "I've opened up Pandora's box," end quote.
But I've opened up Pandora's box.
Now, when I heard this, I was freaking out. The prison is formally called Pandora's Vault, meant to reference the story of Pandora's box, so it seems like Ranboo might be talking about the prison here. In case you don't know the story of Pandora's box, basically there was a box full of all the misery and awful things of the world, but a woman named Pandora opened it out of curiosity, and after all the evil escapes, only hope was left trapped inside. Not to mention, the story of Pandora in this box happens to have a Titan being tortured by Zeus every single day until he escapes, so just thought I'd mention that one because it kind of lines up a little. Anyway, when Ranboo opened Pandora's box, it meant he let out evil and let hope in one way or another. Now, this could refer to the prison, and Dream being evil, maybe saying that Dream might escape soon, and whoever Hope is, maybe even Ranboo himself, might be left inside. It could also be in reference to Ranboo himself. Maybe his normal state is his hope, and with the experiments he's done and everything going wrong, he has unleashed the evil he sees as his Ender walking side. Now, let's think about that ending scene. The smile was purple now, like an Enderman, along with those Enderman eyes. This seemingly means that this Enderman side of Ranboo is becoming more prominent. It's likely the experiments Ranboo is doing is causing him to appear more often and to become more and more a part of Ranboo. Plus the fact that it seemed his Ender walking side was stopping him from saying certain things, they're seeming to kind of become one. However, it's also interesting to note that there is more Enderman in the smile, the part of the logo representing Dream rather than Ranboo. So it could maybe be possible that Ender walking side is separating from Dream's control, and he's thinking for himself more so than listening to Dream. Or maybe listening more to Dream and gaining more Enderman powers to do so. There's basically a lot of ways to interpret this, but the basic idea is that this Ender walking side seems like it's going to be a lot more prominent and important going forward, and likely will blend with Ranboo's normal side in one way or another. Also, that "see you soon" writing at the end of the stream seems to be the Ender walking side writing it down. And it also looks like the Enderwalking writing on the pages Ranboo has released from his ARG. So, now the only question super left up in the air are, why are those numbers there? The numbers of the lessons were, in order, 14, 27, 53, 67, 94. I have been trying lots of different things with these, and to be honest, it seems like there's a lot of ways that this could go. You can't decode them using the A1Z26 cipher, as that considers every letter of the alphabet as a number, so it only goes up to 26. Taking each individual number, like 1, 4, 2, 7, etc., also didn't work because it just spelled gibberish. Hex decoders, rot decoders, base 64 decoders, tried all of them, no luck. So I thought maybe I was looking a little too deep into it. I tried to see if it aligned with anything I could connect. I tried to see if it was the numbers of words on the Enderwalking pages, but that didn't work out either. I basically spent a really long time messing with these numbers and trying to understand what they mean. Added all together, they equal 255, which doesn't mean much as far as I'm aware. Adding each number individually equals 48, and most of the math equations with the numbers also gave me just absolutely nothing. Then I remembered the clock. Ranboo is always seemingly connected to a clock, something we know Dream is connected to in the prison as well. So maybe it refers to time. What if it's just as simple as each lesson being on that day of Dream's jail time? But when the stream happened, he'd only been in jail for 93 days. But we were at least 94 lessons, which is only one above, so it's kind of odd, maybe intentional, maybe it's meant for some different reason though, or maybe it doesn't relate to the time of Dream in jail at all. But what else could it be? I still have no idea, to be fair. Everything I just said was about everything I looked at, so maybe it could lead you somewhere. So I'm just gonna keep messing with it, and maybe we'll get more context later on, so I'll keep you all updated on any revelations I make. Anyways, now with you-know-who back on the SMP, and Ranboo's Enderwalking seemingly getting worse and much scarier, I have a feeling things are gonna get even more exciting soon, so I'll see you next time, but until then, keep theorizing. Bye!